a small stone here that I'm going to be cleaning, and what I want everybody to do is before you clean your ancestors' stone, because it's us descendants that are cleaning our stones, and we're the only ones taking care of these. You know, mowing the lawn is pretty much the only thing that gets done nowadays in cemeteries, and cleaning the stones will prolong the life of the stone. They're very absorbent. These soak up water, and what happens in the wintertime, as we all know, ice, you know, it turns to ice, and it ruins the stone. It's like an explosion, you know, micro explosion inside. And what happens, these stones, they crumble away, and the white marble, they crystallize. They call it crystallization. And these are like, if you can imagine, these are like bars of ivory soap that in 100 years these are no longer going to exist. You know, the lawn's going to get cut, but the stone is going to be gone. And that we can thank New Jersey and New York for that, for sending us their pollution, because it's the pollution and the ultraviolet light that has ruined these stones. And so the one way that you can prolong the life of your stone, your ancestor's stone, is to clean it. And this is one tool for cleaning it. It's a plastic thing for spreading icing on cake, and you use water and a soft bristle brush. You never use anything else on it. You don't use dishwashing liquid or anything like that. No soap, nothing. And what we do at Connecticut Gravestone Network and the Association of Gravestone Studies is that we clean stones when we go looking for our ancestors' stones. Are there any genealogists in here? Anybody? Yeah, it's wonderful finding your relatives' stones, but unfortunately, a lot of times they're not in really good shape. So it's up to us to take care of the stones. My recommendation is to always ask before you touch a stone. A lot of people feel you shouldn't be touching the stone, but on the contrary, you know, if you don't clean it, it's going to deteriorate. This is a prime example of the lichen. This is called lichen, and it grows on the stone. And it's, for the most part, this stuff is real easy to get off. It's this stuff that is almost on there permanently. You can't get that off. What we do is we spritz down the stone, and in fact, I had to use this as an example. We spray it down and let it soak. And actually, the best time to clean a stone is when it's pouring rain, because then the rain will just wash everything away as you're cleaning the stone. I've got some water here. In a really, really bad case, if you've got some really nasty stuff on there, a very thin solution of 10% bleach, and the rest water will do. And what we do is we water it down. Now the thing is, most of us don't walk around the cemetery with water, but what you can do is just clean it with a bristle brush. If you have one, a toothbrush, something, you can buy them like at the dollar store, those kind of brushes. This is what I use if we go to a cemetery specifically to do our cleaning. And what we use are we use bottles, and this has a little bit of bleach in it. I'm going to do a little test spot here. And let that soak for a couple of minutes. Put baking soda do any good? No, you don't want to use anything. Nothing but water. Nothing but water and soft bristle brushes, these things, and that's it. You can use toothpicks, wooden toothpicks, skewers, wooden skewers. No metal. Don't ever use any metal on any stone, because it'll ruin the stone. And this is what we use. This is nice and soft. And just work at it, and work from the top of the stone down, and clean the stone off. But the first thing before you start is you want to see how solid the stone is. If it's a brown stone, they become hollow. And they're hollow on the inside of the stone. So what we always do, we knock on the stone. If it sounds solid, then you can go ahead and clean it. If it's an upright stone, a tablet stone, and you knock on it and it sounds hollow, everybody knows what it should sound like, then don't even touch it, because what's happened is that water, as it rains, wicks up through the ground and comes up into the stone. And it rots it away, and the face of the brown stones fall off. And the same thing happens with slate stones. These are the real old stones. So you don't want to touch those at all. Those are just falling apart. These are all relatively new for the most part. They're granite. They're nice and hard. But I mean, most people think that stones are really hard and they'll last forever, and that's not even true. They're like sponges. They just soak up the water. In the old tablets, what you see here, the height of the stone, this is for a little kid. That's his footstone. Their footstone out here in the book. What you see on the top here, lengthwise, is usually what's underneath the ground. So this stone is probably, 4 or 5 feet long in length. What happens when they buried these people back in the 1800s? They didn't bury them 6 feet under. I mean, they didn't have the time for that. It was usually probably around 4 feet deep. And there's no cement sarcophagus. So what happens is that they put the coffin in the ground and they'd bury them without any clothes on, because, clothes was expensive. And they'd wrap them in a white sheet, put them in a coffin, put them in the ground, and as the years would go by, the coffin would rot, everything would cave in, and these usually topple face up in the direction, because the dirt rots, the coffin rots and the dirt caves in, and there's nothing to support this stone, so it topples over. And that's why there's a lot of stones that are missing here. You'll see the footstones, because the footstones are still up, because there was nothing in the ground ahead of it. There was no coffin, just a footstone. So what you'll find is the footstone oftentimes still exists, but this is buried underneath the ground. What we do is we probe for stones, and we'll go around, say this stone's not here, and we would test the ground and see if we can find a stone. And that's what we do. We probe for missing stones. Actually, when the stone is underneath the ground and over the years has been covered up and nobody knows it exists anymore, in actuality it's in better shape than the stones that are still exposed to the atmosphere. They're when you dig them up, they're beautiful stones still. And if you can imagine this marble stone, when they first carved this stone, if anybody's got any marble countertops, that's what these stones look like. And that's what pollution does to the stones. It ruins them from all the lichen and the moss and whatnot. Use your brush and clean it all off, and that's pretty much it in a nutshell as far as cleaning stones. This stuff over here is just about impossible to get off. And this is a little section that I sprayed with bleach. Yeah, yep, a very, very thin, like less than 10% solution of bleach. And you gotta make sure you get it off. Anyway, it looks a lot better when there's no, plus, another thing, if you're doing your genealogy, and you go into a cemetery, and you're taking the picture, make sure you remove the grass from down here, especially in the old tablet stones. I've taken so many pictures where I've forgotten there was a blade of grass sticking up in front of the date, and it's like, oh, what's the date of that? Is that 1774 or because it can change the date. So make sure you clean that off. Just rip the grass out, make it nice and neat, whatever. Let's see, what else? The best time to take a picture of a gravestone is at 12. What happens is that the sun shines down and it'll create a shadow on the letters. On these stones right here, they're almost impossible to read because they've smoothed down so much. And if you use a mirror, you can use a mirror to reflect the light. If it was sunny today, I could have used my mirror to shine some light on it, and it causes a shadow so you can read the stone. If you just want to look at a date on a stone, you can use a mirror, here's a smaller one, and sometimes, that'll shine a little bit of light on it right there, which makes it a little more legible if you can't read it. There's some writing right here, and it's very hard to read, and I think it says sleep. Yeah, something sleep. And you would think that putting something like cuprinol, like what you put on your bricks, to waterproof them, you think that would work, and logically it seems like it should work. But what happens, like I said, underneath the ground you've got the water and it wicks up into the stone and it still gets wet anyway. So, and that cuprinol would probably act as a barrier, so you can't, they haven't found anything to put on the stones. Some cemeteries, I have seen them, they'll take a tablet and they've totally encased it in plastic in the sheet glass or whatever that is. Plexiglass, and that does help preserve the stone from the acid rain. It's the acid rain that's eating these stones up. I think that's.
Is that what makes the lichens come up?